What's up guys? Welcome back to another episode of Shoots with Coop. So today, something very special. A camera that just got back into my collection recently from eBay, and that is the greatest film SLR ever made, the Nikon F3. So first, a little history on the F3 guys. It was brought into production in 1980 and it was designed by a famous Italian designer slash architect called Giorgetto Giugiaro, or Giugiaro, however you want to pronounce that, which is where the camera gets that iconic red stripe down the side of it. This guy was also responsible for a number of Ferrari car designs, so Nikon partnering with him was a very smart idea and made for a very good looking, sleek and streamlined camera. So when the camera first came out in 1980, it cost a whopping $1,175. Now that was including the 50mm 1.4 lens, which is the same lens that I have on this camera now. So I mean, quite a lot of money. It was a professional grade camera back then, but still a lot of money. They also came out with a Nikon F3 HP, which was a high point, which had a higher prism finder, which was meant to be better for people with glasses. They also came out with a titanium model, and then there was a press version and even an autofocus version in later years. The camera was superseded in 1988 when they brought out the Nikon F4, but they still continued production of the camera until 2001. So now we'll just quickly run over some of the key and major features that the Nikon F3 does have. So the ISO range goes all the way down to 25 and then all the way up to 6400. Shutter speeds, you can have it all the way down to 8 seconds long, and then it goes up to 2,000ths of a second. You have an aperture priority mode, a bulb mode, a self timer. The flash sync speed is an 80th of a second on this camera. The camera even has a little lever for you to do multiple exposures. You can, as I said, manually release the shutter if your batteries die. There is a lever for that. You also have your depth of field preview button. And then one of the major things was that, this being a modular system, is that you can take out and change the prisms and the finder on these. So for instance, this is just the regular F3 version, but you could get yourself, if you wanted to, the high point viewfinder, if someone with glasses and you might need that, so you can stick that on without having to get a brand new camera. You can also take and change out the focusing screens and the ground glass if need be. Just very interchangeable, very great modular system for its time. Now, I don't like to get too technical with cameras, and with this camera, the way I like to look at it is, how does the camera make you feel when you shoot it? I mean, it's, as far as a street photographer is concerned, it's a relatively small, all black, relatively discreet camera. Even from a photographer's point of view, I mean, the styling of it, the leather, the red stripe, it's very attractive, very appealing camera. Definitely something that you pick it up and you want to shoot it. And one of the best things on this camera is the sound that shutter makes. Ooh, it's buttery smooth film advance, and that noise that shutter makes is, it's not super quiet, but it is just a lovely sound. Just that motion just makes you want to keep shooting all day long. So like I said, I just recently got this camera back into my collection. So I had it for quite a while, used it extensively with the 50mm 1.4 lens that's on here now. I also had one of the 35mm f2 AFD lenses, which you can use on these older cameras because it has a manual aperture ring. So between those two lenses, I've shot more rolls than I can remember with this camera. But I got rid of it after I bought my Leica M7, thinking that I've got my Leica now, I'm good. But it's just something about this camera in particular that, I pick it up and I just want to shoot it. And also, it is a classic timeless camera, so I managed to get myself another really good one in great condition. And I don't think I'll ever sell this. This will be something that I'll, keep in my collection or eventually hand down to my kids if they want to get into photography. Fingers crossed. But it is just, another thing I should say is shooting portraits with the rangefinder. It's doable, but it's not ideal, I should say. I mean, with an SLR, I mean, you know, you're seeing through the lens, you can see what you get, you can see flare if it's coming in, and having a, you know, split prism focusing system just makes nailing focus, you know, on specific parts like the nose or the eye, you know, a lot easier. So it's definitely a camera that I prefer to shoot portraits with. And you know, having a 50 1.4 on this, you get some very shallow depth of field, some nice bokeh on this lens. So it is just an absolute dream to shoot portraits with this camera. So now guys, I'm going to run you through some of my favorite shots that I've taken with this camera. Actually haven't even put a roll through this one yet because it only came yesterday, but I'm going to run you through some of my favorite pics that I've taken with the older camera I had, the older F3, just so you can see the results and how good it is. So there you have it guys, my take on the Nikon F3. I just cannot recommend this camera enough to all film shooters out there. Guys, if you've got a chance to pick one up, go ahead and do it, because prices are just going to keep getting more and more expensive, especially with people like me putting out videos about it. But I cannot recommend this enough, and you will not regret buying this camera. So thanks for tuning in to another episode of Shoots with Coops, and as always guys, happy shooting. I'll catch you later.